forma peculiar de hacer esa transformación.
From a small community that's taken a really unusual way to make this transformation.
Nosotros venimos desde Teopantli-Calpulli.
We come from Teopantli-Calpulli.
Es una otra comunidad que también tomó su iniciativa en una transformación.
It's a community that has taken an initiative to make a transformation.
Fue fundada por un maestro de la Gran Fraternidad Universal.
It's founded by a teacher from the Great Universal Brotherhood.
Que venía de Europa.
He came from Europe.
Y se unió a todos los movimientos indígenas espirituales de América.
And he created a union of representatives from all the indigenous groups throughout the Americas.
En ese intento, anhelo de hacer esa fusión cultural, ideológica.
The idea was to make a fusion of culture and ideology.
Hemos sido un pequeño foco ahí donde se nos ha sido entregadas tradiciones desde lakotas, navajos, han estado cherokees, lamas del Tíbet, han estado quechuas, aymaras, mayas. Ha sido un punto donde se han volcado mucha, digamos, conocimiento.
The Calpulli has been in its 33 years of existence a focal point for leaders of indigenous thought throughout the continent, from Cherokees, Navajos, Lakotas, to Aymaras and Quechuas, Mamos from the high mountains of Colombia. And the idea has been to create a space for the union of these different visions of the world.
Y en este momento viene otro grupo que está empujando muy fuerte, que es este nuevo, especialmente representado por este cambio planetario que representa el Consejo de Visiones. Todo ante lo que se ha entregado de lo antiguo viene lo nuevo, hacia el futuro, hacia dónde, ¿verdad? Va toda esta energía de cambio y transformación, y especialmente liderada por un pequeño grupo que surgió en el movimiento hippie y que unió
My memory doesn't last that long anymore. So what Raquel is saying, that now with the Vision Council is coming a group with a different perspective, but also with the same focus of transforming consciousness in this planet in such a way that we can move forward to a new paradigm, and one that is more in harmony with future survival on this planet.
Este grupo viene, digamos, empujado, apoyado por todos los jóvenes y visionarios de hacia donde ellos entienden que vamos caminando en este proceso de cambio y transformación planetaria, ¿verdad?
And this group comes pushed by the young people, with a lot of energy coming from the young people.
Yo tengo que decir que venía de una pequeña ciudad española.
Raquel comes from a small city in Spain.
Muy tradicional.
Very traditional.
Muy tradicional. Y en su momento, cuando Alberto Ruz, que es uno de los principales líderes, llegó a mi comunidad,
When Alberto Ruz, one of the leaders of the Vision Council, what was then had a different name, but he arrived at her community.
Y su presentación fue llena de colores.
And his presentation was full of colors.
Llena de todo aquello que uno sueña que dice, esto no es posible.
It was like a dream that you think this isn't really possible.
Lo posible es ir a la oficina, trabajar 10 horas, mantener el sistema, estar toda tu vida hipotecada.
What was possible to her in this time was going the office, working 10 hours, having your career, having everything like mortgage, your whole future is planned out in this way.
Cuando yo vi que otra realidad era posible,
When she saw that there was another reality that was possible,
dije, yo quiero estar ahí.
she said, I want to be there.
Y bueno, pues muy resumido,
So just briefly,
yo conocí este grupo así.
I met this group in that way.
Me vine a México, me integré, formé parte, viajé en la caravana por todo Centroamérica, realmente haciendo lazos con los principales líderes de Guatemala, espirituales, de diferentes países.
So I came from Spain, I came to Mexico at that time, and I joined the group, and I traveled with them all through Central America, and we met with different spiritual leaders from different tribes throughout the continent.
Y para mí, que venía de una cultura muy herida, 2 guerras mundiales, una guerra civil.
For me, I came from a culture that was very wounded from 2 great world wars.
Todo eso en pequeño en mi familia también estaba ese dolor, ¿verdad?
All of this wounding and this pain played out in a very big way in my own family.
Fue una forma de comenzar a sanar mi espíritu, mi alma, mi ser y entender que la vida no solamente es ir a una oficina 8 horas diariamente.
And for me, it was a way to begin my process of healing and to realize that there's other forms of life that aren't just going to the office 8 hours a day.
Empecé a entender que uno podía soñar, realizar sus sueños, gozar de la vida, contactar con no solamente una realidad que uno toca, sino que hay una realidad que uno no puede tocar.
So I began to dream again, and I began to make my dreams come true. I began to realize that there's another reality that's not just the reality that we can touch, it's the reality that we can touch as well.
Y que es la que más llenaba mi espíritu y me sanaba.
And that's the reality that most filled my spirit and healed me.
Y bueno, de ahí surgió mi conexión con el grupo y ahora estamos invitándoles a ustedes a que se unan, a conocer, participar y disfrutar.
And so that's how I connected with this group. And now we're inviting you to come and to get to know the Vision Council and to enjoy and to live this experience with us.
De que puede haber una visión diferente, ¿verdad?, de esta realidad paralelas que nos toca vivir.
So, and to be able to experience a little bit of that parallel reality that exists alongside the reality that we're more aware of.
Allí entre todos construiremos una ecoaldea de paz.
Among ourselves, we build together a temporary peace village, a ceremonial peace village.
Que estará formada por las antiguas tradiciones indígenas del continente americano, vendrá también alguien de Europa, de diferentes lugares. Principalmente te estamos invitando al conocimiento ancestral, ¿verdad?, de los pueblos originarios.
So we are having people that are coming now from different traditions all over Latin America, people who are coming from Europe, and
Pueblos originarios.
yeah, different indigenous peoples from around the Americas, and they're going to be helping to build all.
Estamos organizados por consejos, tradición, abuelos, donde haya un espacio para la persona ya adulta, madura, que pueda compartir sus experiencias de vida.
The Consejo the Vision Council is organized by different councils, and each one has a different theme. So,
Tenemos jóvenes, tenemos espiritualidad,
we have young people, we have spirituality,
ecología,
ecology.
Ella puede hablar también de su proceso, está más centrada en toda esta parte, ¿verdad? Y sobre todo lo más importante es las relaciones humanas que se establecen, porque el grupo de personas al que estamos convocando es todo aquel que tiene una visión de cambio y transformación. Cada uno la suya, ¿verdad? Pero que ahí entran todas.
The thing that unites us all, and the reason why it's called the Vision Council, is because it's a union of all the different visions coming from all these different councils.
Nos reuniremos, disfrutaremos, danzaremos.
So we meet, we enjoy, we dance,
Meditation,
we meditate,
ceremonies,
we have different kinds of ceremonies, we
muchas
have
cosas.
concerts, we have presentations of films, we have workshops of many different kinds.
Y venimos a invitarles a que disfruten unos días con nosotros ahí.
So we invite you to come and enjoy a few days with me. And so,
Sería todo.
yeah, okay. And so I entered the picture much later than Raquel. I guess it was 2003 when I come from a family of many sisters. One of them is Tony, who some of you know here. Tony is the one who actually connected me with the Open Circle, and she had the idea that I come here. Another one of my sisters is Tammy, and Tammy is a permaculturist, among many other things. But how many of you know what is permaculture? Okay, good. Just to give you a little bit of an idea, that's one of the main philosophical underpinnings of the Vision Council. The other is bioregionalism, and I'll talk to you about that too in a minute. But permaculture, the idea of permaculture, it sounds like agriculture, right? So it does have an element of agriculture. But the word comes from the idea of permanent culture. A culture that is permanent in the sense that it can live on this planet in an ongoing way without, not only sustainably, but something that is beyond sustainable. It's regenerative because we've already done so much damage that we need to repair. Permaculture is a philosophy of life that includes architecture. It's a philosophy of design, actually, of designing our communities and our lives and our homes and our relationships in ways that are sustainable and regenerative. So Tammy, our sister, is a permaculturist, and she lived in a permaculture community that maybe somebody has heard of in Tennessee called The Farm. Has anyone heard of that? Okay, so Tammy was at The Farm working for something called Gaia University, which is an online university promoting permaculture techniques, and is actually the creation of a founder of the Vision Council, another one of our people, and that's how Tammy found out about the call of the condor in 2003 when this caravan that Raquel was talking about was traveling all through the Americas teaching ideas of permaculture, and the other part of it is bioregionalism, which is creating networks of people who are organized around these ideas of permaculture, but also in mutually supportive ways. So they were teaching ideas of permaculture, but in ways like Raquel was describing, in ways that are super entertaining. They are actors, they are artists, they are clowns, they are jugglers, and they have really, very high level of preparation in these areas, but they're also extremely committed to planetary survival. And so they spent their 13 years traveling through Latin America, and Tammy, our sister, hooked up with them in Peru at the Call of the Condor. Each one of these gatherings and encounters has a theme. Call of the Condor in Peru, because that's one of the emblematic birds there. They also had Call of the Hummingbird in Brazil. When I came on board, it was Call of the Eagle. What we're having now is Call of the Sage. But Call of the Condor, Tammy went, and it really impacted her. She began writing about the experience that she was having there and sending it back. This is when the internet was brand new. Sending it back to Missouri. And me, I'm working as a newspaper reporter and editor in Missouri at the time. And saying, wow, this stuff is happening. This is really interesting. Environment is my background as a reporter. I worked in basically 3 areas. Environmental and health writing. I was a science writer. And then I shifted and started working with the immigrant community because I was very interested in Latin American culture. And so this kind of called to both sides of me, the environmental part and also this love that I always had for the Latin American cultures. So at that time I started paying attention and receiving the communiques for our Alberto, or at that time he was sub-coyote, Alberto, who was one of the founders of the Vision Council that Raquel mentioned. And he was articulating a vision that I had never heard before, that brought together the elements of creativity and joy for a life that we can have that is full and loving and just really fun and creative, and yet it's sustainable, that we can live with very, very little and be really happy and really fulfilled. It doesn't depend on money. And that if we can share this vision with each other, as they were doing, that instead of trying to make money to buy more stuff, we invest our time and our energy in creative ways of living together, we can have such a much better life. And so, in 2000, fast forward, in 2010, I was at that time working as a travel editor at the Houston Chronicle. Great big tower, 10 hours a day, office. Well, I was also a travel writer, so I got to travel, and that part was pretty cool. But this was the time of the downsizing of the newspaper industry. Major, major downsizing in conjunction with the financial crisis. And the news came from Hearst Corporation that it was time to cut 1/3 of the staff. Of course, the travel editor would be the one cut, right? I had the job everybody wanted. But it was okay, because I had always dreamed of taking this backpacking trip and catching up with these caravan people, and so that's what I did. And my trip began with the people of the Vision Council, and it ended with the people of the Vision Council. And the connections that I made are what caused me to be here now and have really sort of shaped my experience since then, and I'm really grateful for it. So, how are we doing on time?
You're doing well, but you can start. Tell us more.
Yeah, just as Raquel mentioned, the Vision Council is organized around councils, different councils. And to simplify, we've got about 12 different councils, ranging from thematic councils like environment is like the vertebral column, the central column of the Vision Council, because that is basically the goal is to create a culture that is sustainable. Along with that, the traditional cultures of the Americas are something that we honor very deeply, and we have interconnected with them at every step along the way. And so there is the Council of Tradition. There is the Council of Health, because ultimately this is a council of healing the spirit. That is what brings so many of us here, is because we live in a culture that is very, very damaging in many ways. And so healing is a huge part of what we do. We have alternative therapists of many, many kinds. We have 2 alternative doctors, one here in Guadalajara and one in the central part of Mexico City, Tepoztlán, that are in their groups right now. They're going to be giving a whole range of workshops on different kinds of therapies. And then we have New Time, which looks at different ways, traditional and new ways of looking at time, the Mayan calendar, different kinds of calendars, because our lives are so regimented and organized around this modern way that we have looking at time that is really very recent. We have social movements, which is a very interesting council where you can go and learn about all the different things that are happening throughout Mexico and beyond in different areas of social movement. And we have the Art and Culture Council, which is very, very important. In the daytime, they give a whole wide range of workshops of different kinds of arts and painting, and they're going to be doing murals, they're doing art with the children as well. But in the evening, we're going to be having musical presentations, dance, theater, and film. Then we have the Young People Council, which they have their own program that is the equal of any other program. We have the Children's Council, we have the Elders Council, which is a new thing that has, unfortunately, Abuela Esperanza couldn't be with us today, but that's her project, is creating the Vision Council, which she brought, the Elders Council, which she brought to the last Vision Council, and is inviting elders from all over the place. to be presenting and sharing, and creating a space also for the younger people to come and connect with and learn from the elders. And so this is all happening simultaneous to a program that we do in the closest village. In this case, it's San Isidro Mazatepec. We're having a whole series of activities during the week, but we're having two. I'm the coordinator of the Ecology Council, together with Ana Ruiz from Mexico City. And one of the things that we're doing is organizing two big roundtables on two of the big pressing environmental issues right now, which are, for us, because we're right on the edge of the primavera, and we're seeing the primavera forest, and we're seeing a lot of affectations in terms of development, in terms of sand mining, in terms of forest fires, and the management of the forest, and also the other connected forests, and some proposals for protecting the forest. And then the other one is water. And water is the central theme of the ecology movement, or the Ecology Council in the Consejo. So I think for now we will maybe just open it to questions. Bioregionalism, thank you for reminding me of that. Bioregionalism is a philosophy that instead of paying so much attention to the political boundaries, where the different state lines are, we look at it by watersheds. And organizing ourselves by watershed and bioregion, looking at logical ways to manage policies and manage our communities, respecting the water and the natural configurations of the land.
I think you might have left out some very important information for most of us here. If we wanted to visit during this Consejo, Council, how would we do that? I mean, exactly, give us more of a sense of where it is. It's only maybe an hour and a half from where we are, and maybe even people would want to go on a bus or something. You could spend a day and come back. And it's mostly, I would think, in Spanish. Would we need maybe a translator or something? A lot of people here would need help with the language.
Okay, yeah, good questions, thank you. First of all, yes, you can come on a daily basis. You have two different options of how to get there. The closest is probably through Jocotepec. And then as you're coming up around Lopez Mateos, there's a place called Las Cuatas, Santa Cruz de las Flores. It goes towards Tala, and it's about an hour and a half in that direction. We have a website, consejodevisiones.org, which we have some flyers too that I'm going to hand out here for anybody who's interested. The consejodevisiones.org has directions on how to get there. It has the schedule of how much it costs per day or per week. We do have translators. We have a volunteer team of translators that can accompany, but it's also good if you can bring your own, because then you can have more constant translating for everything that you need, conversations and everything.
Where do people stay, and is there food provided?
Yes, we have very, very good food, actually. It's vegetarian. We have chefs that have been doing these kinds of gatherings for many years, and they have food that's inspired by different kinds of nationalities. And it's camping for people who have special needs. We do have a few indoor places to stay, but it's mainly camping. And yes, and there are some hotels in the area as well.
Good. I can't think of anything on that order anymore, but we'll open it up to your questions. If you raise your hand, somebody will bring you a mic.
One more thing I want to mention while we're, in terms of information that's available on the internet, we have also a Facebook page. It's Consejo de Visiones, Guardianes de la Tierra, and we have almost instant responses. Most of it's in Spanish, but I work very closely with the young woman who's organizing that page, and she sends me all the English stuff. So don't be afraid. Just write your question if you want. We have already started the events of the Vision Council. We're doing volunteer weekends every weekend now. We are organizing events in Guadalajara, projections. We just had a
me over here.
Hi. I'm curious about what kind of results you're getting, you know, as you're teaching and informing people and sharing the visions. What are you seeing?
Well, I'll give you an example. In each vision council, well, some of the results are going to be very subtle. Some of the results are just that people like Raquel and me start to open our minds to a different kind of life, and it influences the way that people live their lives. Some people begin recycling. Some people begin meditating. Some people begin to realize that, well, maybe there are some other treatments to their ailments that could involve a more holistic approach. Some people become interested in new philosophies. Some of the results are very concrete. For example, one year we had a vision council in Mazunte, which is on the coast of Oaxaca. At that time, about 20 years ago, I think, or 18 years ago, no, exactly. But that place was a killing ground for turtles, sea turtles. And the Vision Council came and did programs. Each of the families in the village was a host to some of the people who came. And they began getting to know each other and understanding the philosophy. And the Vision Council brought a model for tourism that was sustainable. And now, I don't know if any of you have been to the coast of Oaxaca there, south of Huatulco, thank you. It's now one of the leading ecotourism places on the coast, and it has a huge turtle reserve. And that began with the Vision Council. More recently, I was involved in a project to, let's see, I don't know how many of you are following, are familiar with the Huichol culture. Surely yes, because there are lots of them here, right? Well, a few years ago, a Canadian mining company proposed to open a big silver mine in their most sacred site of Huicuta. I was personally involved in that struggle as the leader of their communications team, and I was also involved in the Vision Council. And when I got to the Vision Council that year, my very first Vision Council, everybody was talking about this. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, as it turned out, the Vision Council spearheaded an event that was called Huiricuta Fest. They organized the top musical artists in Mexico, Café Tacuba and Caifanes, all the big names. It was about a lineup of about 12 different concerts. 60,000 people came and filled up the biggest auditorium in Mexico City. Brought in 21 million pesos, of which, well, the music industry took a chunk of it, but we ended up with 9 million pesos to do projects for permaculture and water captation in the desert of Huiricuta, to provide an alternative to people who were feeling like they needed to accept the mining companies because there was no other alternative. So there are very concrete things that the Vision Council does. And this year, we'll see. There are lots of ideas that are percolating in the nearby village of San Isidro, and we'll see how the Vision Council is going to be able to inspire and support those ideas.
I have a question about the camping arrangements. This is a huge, huge group.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
One day would be not enough.
Yeah.
You have campgrounds?
We do. We have campgrounds that we're preparing right now. They're very, we have toilets that we're putting in, what they call, I'm going to say those composting toilets all over. We also have, for elders that need special accommodations, we are setting up some houses that people can sleep. There's a few of them that are people's, that are families' houses there that are going to be offering beds. But there are also a couple of big structures that are like open structures that you can bring your mattress, and we're going to have some cots. And
Okay.
So they'll be a little bit more closed in. If you prefer to be a little bit more closed in, you're camping, but you're camping under a roof and with walls. So there are lots of different options.
Bring your own bedding.
There's also, yes, there are bed and breakfasts, and there's hotels of different, there's like 3 different options for hotels and bed and breakfasts. So different ranges of luxuriousness or not. Okay.
Now, I have a question about transportation. I've gone to Kapuli many times, and the road there is terrible. Have they done anything to fix the road up?
Actually, yes, the road has been improved quite a bit. See, if I have a Nissan Sentra, and I drive it pretty much every day over that road, it's not, you have to take it easy. But, you know, in the same way that you deal with topes here, and big charcos and puddles and so forth, well, there it's rougher. But if you take it slow, you can do it. My Nissan Sentra does it, so.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I had no idea this existed. So I have a question. I know about Burning Man in the United States and how many people go there every year for a totally different experience. Tell me about how many you had last year through the whole time of the conference.
It's not anything like Burning Man in terms of size. Do I still hear?
No. Un momento. Hola, hola, hola. Hola, hola.
Okay, so it's not nearly as big as Burning Man, fortunately.
Yeah.
It's we've had ranging between 300 and 500. So it's a more manageable size group.
I just wondered about the vision.
Wait a second. Here comes a running microphone.
This is very exciting too for me to hear about. I had no idea either. I wanted to know about the Vision Council leadership and how that's organized and how that's evolved and, you know, the shared leadership type of thing. You know, just what is that about?
Yes, it's very horizontal, and we organize ourselves circularly. The idea is that each of us is a leader. We try to identify within ourselves what our strengths are, and each one takes charge. For example, I'm also, in addition to ecology, I'm the leader of the communications team, and we take decisions by consensus. And we're learning how to do it from the very beginning because none of us have ever done this before. And some of the leaders in Mexico City of the Vision Council, original Vision Council, are actually leaders in teaching, consensus decision making, conflict resolution, that sort of thing. And they have assisted us along the way with some different techniques. But we are actually bringing in a team from Colombia, which we're very excited about, that's working with a new model for eco-villages around the world. It began in Fenthorn in Scotland. It's called sociocracy, and it's a form of governance that is also very horizontal, but it's very efficient. And so we're going to be looking at new ways of governance for our community and for other groups that are nonprofit groups can also use it. So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at.
Everybody can hear me. I am enthused by just listening to your enthusiasm and your smile and what you're trying to do. But for the last 10 years of my life, it was always my personal understanding that the answer to all of the problems of the world would be found in the writings of L. Ron Hubbard and in the spoken words of Tom Cruise from the Church of Scientology.
Raquel is going to take this one.
Sí. Nosotros no pretendemos ser un grupo que marque el camino hacia la perfección ni la resolución de todos los problemas. Pretendemos pasar una semana disfrutando, pretendemos aún ser capaces de sacar nuestros sueños del baúl, pretendemos compartir la experiencia que hemos adquirido durante nuestra vida, porque vendrán muchos jóvenes que no saben para dónde. yo creo que algunos o más de algunos de los que hay aquí tengan algo que aportar a las nuevas generaciones de su experiencia de vida. Nada más. Y a disfrutar. Es todo.
So we don't pretend or even try to solve the problems of the world. That's not what we're here for. We also don't pretend or try to bring enlightenment to everybody. What we're doing is we're taking our dreams out of the trunk and we're putting them to life. We are sharing our experiences with each other and with this new generation of young people and enjoying together each other, some of the best people that this event can draw together in this encounter, and live a week. I'm going to add some words that one of our neighbors and friends says. It's living 7 days like you would like to live your whole life.
We have some questions for some more. Are we short of microphone? Oh, back there.
I'd like to not so much what you said, thank you very much. Two items that came up at Open Circle this morning. One, the meditation, and secondly, this gentleman who spoke before the speech came about. We own a house in Milwaukee, and the roof was torn out. The damage was relatively minor compared to the others. The whole community of Milwaukee, Bara, and Siwatlan have been flattened. And after the hurricane passed, it rained for days on end, and the streets of those communities have been flooded. And I ask you, in the name of good, open circle, friendship, and kindness, to do whatever you can to support these gentlemen, the people who live in these communities, not the gringos. The Mexicans are really having a horrible time, and I ask you from the bottom of my heart, please help them. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a small question, but actually I would like more to support the invitation. Can I? Okay. Good morning. I come from Colombia, and I grow in the system. I think in one of those years, I joined one of these groups in an eco village close to Bogota, and that changed my life. I spent 3 days singing, eating together, working as a team for simple activities or benefits we usually have as water, as light, as food, as a fire. And it just changes or gives you a new experience to reorder how you understand life and how you want to spend it. So it doesn't mean that you will go to live in a community. Maybe yes, maybe not. And maybe you will come to your office or your company or your work with a more understanding and respect to natural resources, to your own self, with your food, the way you relate with others. And I guess there will come elders from different indigenous communities that they really spend their life praying and taking care of this planet when we are watching TV. So there is a lot to learn and to, at least a little bit, get to harm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add that the eco-village that Maha went to, or was in, has a good little group of people that are going to be coming, and they're going to be teaching sociocracy, what I was mentioning before.
time for just one more question. No voy a escogerlo.
Hello? Yeah. Is it working? I'd just like to hear a little bit about the community and the residents that are living there permanently. How many people you have and what it's like in your community?
El Teopantli Calpulli fue fundado hace 33 años
Teopantli Calpulli was founded 33 years ago
por el maestro Domingo Díaz Porta de la Gran Fraternidad Universal.
by Maestro Domingo Díaz Porta of the Great Universal Fraternal Brotherhood.
Este grupo venía de Europa, lo iniciador fue el maestro de la Ferrier,
This group was brought to the Americas by a French teacher, Maestro Ferrier.
de la Ferrier, y venía a la vez de todo el movimiento, grupo de la Gran Hermandad Blanca, templarios, de esa línea. Llegó a América, se extendió por toda América, especialmente América del Sur, y se estableció fuertemente en México, donde se fundó la comunidad.
It was founded throughout Latin America, especially South America, in Mexico. It was most strongly founded here in this community.
Originalmente el Teopantli Calpulli era un ashram,
Originally, Teopantli Calpulli started as an ashram
con disciplinas diferentes,
with different kinds of disciplines, yoga, vegetarianism.
y su fundador tuvo la visión de que la espiritualidad de la nueva era venía del pueblo indígena
And the
americano.
founder had the vision that the philosophies of the New Age would be based on the philosophies of the traditional peoples of the Americas.
Y ahí empezó a relacionarse, interactuar con los diferentes pueblos indígenas del continente.
And from that moment, he began to have different kinds of connections and relationships. He traveled all over Latin America, meeting with people in the Amazon and the Andes, with different indigenous elders and leaders throughout the continent.
Y de ahí surgió, digamos, ya se separó de la línea originaria.
So he separated from the original line, which was the ashram and the philosophies of the East.
Y se empezó a formar un grupo, movimiento que está, digamos, formado por diferentes filosofías.
And so he formed a group that was more based on different philosophies from all over the world.
De hecho, si tiene una peculiaridad del Calpulli es que allá hay seguidores de Ramta,
So the thing about the Calpulli is that we have followers of Ramta,
seguidores de la filosofía hindú,
Hindu followers,
seguidores de mayas,
of Mayas,
lakotas, quechuas, huicholes. Hay diferentes familias, cada familia decidió elegir un camino.
Each family has chosen a different path, and each household is teacher. The children are teachers there. You asked how many.
Y yo siento que este es el reto de hoy. No importa tu filosofía, tu cultura, tu origen, convivir todos juntos en el respeto.
I think this is our challenge today, is no matter what your background, no matter what your philosophy, but figuring out how to live together in harmony.
Formando una nueva cultura.
Forming a new culture.
I'm sorry. I think that's all for today, but you may talk with them a little bit afterwards if you'd like. And I hope to send those who are on our list some more specific information so that you can, if you want to go, have, the map and everything to do that. So don't forget to stack your chairs and dispose